Hola, hola, and buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, depending on when you are listening to this. I'm not sure when you'll get to hear this, but for myself and Dr. Jenna, who is here, a returning guest on Tech and Tequila, this is kind of like the first of the new year, the Nuevo Año 2025. And I almost feel like this season has been a lot of like returning amazing people. But before I get too in depth and too into it, I want, of course, Dr. Jenna to introduce yourself, because I would be so remiss if I did not give you a chance to say who you are and just give us a little bit about yourself.
Welcome, and bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us on the podcast, Tech and Tequila. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kat Lopez Shelby, and I'm the founder and CEO of Shelby Technology Solutions. But more importantly, you're here for Tech and Tequila, where we learn a lot about tech, and we may have some nice tequila drinks while we're at it. If you're new here, Tech and Tequila is all about everything technology based for your business. So what that means is we have suppliers on here to talk about how they can help you grow your business. We, have mindset coaches on here talking about how to help you grow your business. We're all about business and basically introducing you to different suppliers and different ways that help you within your business.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me as a returning guest. It's always so much fun. My name is Dr. Jenna W. Clack, or you might know me as JW1 or Dr. Quantum Limitless, depending on where we are connecting. And really what I do is I help you align with a really personalized, individualized way of using your spirit to move functionally through the world, to really have a life full of well-being, fulfillment, and finding ease and flow. My background is in pharmacy. I worked in bioidentical compounding, and so I looked into how hormones interact with our thoughts and well-being, and continued on that pathway, having advanced education in anti-aging, regenerative, and functional medicine to align, and flipping it all around to realize that the practice is the most important. And through consulting clients, allowing myself to continue to discover more alongside them, and ended up being a digital nomad in the midst of all of that, following values. I think that's what we're going to be talking about today too, is how we reach those goals and move forward. So that's the little short snippet on me at this point.
Well, obviously, bienvenidos and welcome. I'm super excited to have you back on Tech and Tequila. I realized that I didn't say that in the intro, so we're starting off the year with a bang. But you know what? Hey, we're all here. We've all made it through the last couple of days, and we're ready to go. And because this is called Tech and Tequila, this might be a little bit of a different episode per se, just because I felt like with the beginning of the year, we should really cover some thoughts about resolutions, about setting goals, and about, how do you move forward? And maybe it's kind of a twofold. It's like, how do you assess last year, if this is when you choose to like make your resolutions, and how do you move forward? And so we're going to do that and kind of discuss that for a minute, and then we'll take a break, because obviously this is called tequila, and we will talk about some different options. If you have decided to do this like dry January or something of that nature, I'll give you some different things, different drinks, different options for you. But let's kind of just get right into it, Jenna, because I know yourself and myself, you know, I'm not necessarily someone who's like, new me, new year, but I am somebody who wants to assess last year, and for some people, I want to make this very clear. If last year you're just like, let's just slam that door shut, we just want it to be done, then hey, by all means, do you, boo. Because the thing is that you need to honor yourself. But if you need to take some, self look at yourself and self reflection, and be like, okay, this is what went right last year, this is what went wrong prior to setting goals, then do that. And I will say, I'm not a huge person about resolutions. And I'll get into that here in a minute. But I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, starting the new year and kind of what your process is and what you do.
Totally. I mean, it's definitely been a work in progress, as everything is. It's fun. It's a project to move forward in. I hadn't realized how serious I've kind of always been about this sort of thing. Maybe not even just the new year. However, like you were saying, it's nice to have a checkpoint. It's nice to have a little breather to, if you desire to look back, reflect, and decide what worked best to carry in with you and decide what things you'd like to find substitutes for, right? So I have personally always, I didn't realize that this wasn't what everyone was doing. Like with my dad's diabetic logbook, making like, these are the things I'm doing every day. So it happens for me a lot. I like the New Year time because of the space that it gives you around the holidays to really look at what your values have brought to you. So the main thing is I've had a personal mission statement almost every year for, oh my goodness, over 15 or 20 years at this point. And finding a place to refresh that can feel a little bit difficult because you're doing all those things, you're moving forward. So finding the checkpoint is amazing. And then I would say that the most important thing then is to be aware that what you're choosing first, what you're leaning into first before you put down these specifics of however you do it. Personally, I have now gone down to a program of aligning 12 goals where I'll work on one very intentionally and the other I leave up to the universe. All those things are already in movement. And it's very clear how I set those goals from values. I think that's like the most important part. When you're setting goals from what seems good, what looks good, I work with a lot of clientele who are extremely successful and got every single thing that they wanted. And turns out that we didn't really align that with values first. And even though it looked like everything that you could have possibly dreamed, it feels like a trap or an oppression because you're not aligned. It feels like friction when you're not aligned. So for me personally, at this point, it really is a values first. I start with 6 values. And then, I mean, there's so many values to choose from. It's the most exciting thing to get to choose values to begin with. And that's a nice thing to think about. And then from those values, you can look at what really aligns and what you can get excited about and get excited about having action or non-action about as you align those goals. And then again, there's another checkpoint at kind of like the spring center. So it's not long before you get to reassess. And I think I love that about New Year because it gives you a jumping off point and it gives you a place that really soon you're going to have another natural place to assess so that you're not committing. I don't look at it as committing to specific things all 12 months. I look at it as, like you were saying, a checkpoint to move forward and say, in this season, what would I like to achieve? And you even have another checkpoint coming up so that you can allow yourself to adjust.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I like some of the things that you pointed out. And I wanted to point out one of the things that you were talking about is that, you know, that you work with people who are super successful and they set a goal and then they achieve it. And I think we hear about this a lot where people, and I don't want to use an overused term, but like they end up burning themselves out. And
Right.
kind of what I was going to talk about is one of the things that I really think about, and I wouldn't say this is like a smart goal per se, but I would say, when you have somebody that's like, yeah, and they're like, I'm going to hit the gym every single day and I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And my philosophy on anything, whatever goal that I set, number one, it needs to align with like what's important to me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but it's also, if let's say I haven't gone to the gym in 6 months. Now that's not me, but I mean, let's say you haven't,
Girl, I
then
know you be there all the time.
but it's like, make it something that's reasonable. And I almost say like break it into like 90 days or into a quarter and have like, okay, for the first month, I'm going to say to myself, I'm going to get up and walk every day for like 15 minutes, or I'm going to go to the gym once a week, because I do understand the point of like setting an intention and making something a habit and how it takes 30 days to build a habit. But I also think that if you're not careful, you're actually setting yourself up for, the big F word, failure. And while we
Right.
can fail forward, it's like you're putting yourself under all this pressure that you don't need, when you can be like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. And I'm still going to give myself grace to understand this is a process. It's not like an overnight thing.
Right. And I mean, not to get too wellness and molecules on you. However, wellness and molecules tells you that really is the way to be more effective anyway. So you can't really cheat code yourself by pushing harder and forcing the fit. It really falls into flow. And so some of those things that relate back to taking care of yourself, understanding your lifestyle, understanding how to use tech in your lifestyle, understanding how to lighten your load where you can, give yourself grace all the time. If I've learned nothing else from all of the consulting, all of the molecular study that we've seen, and all that's advanced, is that we still see at the core, we'd like some space, we'd like some relaxation. And without that space, everything is crowded and it doesn't function anymore anyway. So you have it, like you've reached the goal and you're miserable. And we've heard that story so many times that that's not something that we would ever advocate or say that part is just part of it. I think that allowing that freedom of self to have the well-being that's tied into it is definitely part of the way that you're actually achieving and moving forward on these goals. And I think when you said like reasonable, it's not don't shoot for the stars. It's the realizing that confidence is something that's built on making promises that you keep to yourself. So finding the promise that you can keep so that you can build the confidence and the foundation so that it's exciting and fun and that you want to do these things. And that's really the difference in that term that we hear of like burnout or not, is are you enjoying yourself and are you giving yourself space? And that can be part of the values that you build into your goals, which that's a fun cheat code, right? Like
I know, I really like it because I think about, as I look to setting my goals, resolutions, whatever you want to call them for this year, the way that my thought process works is to set like almost like an affirmation statement where it's like, I'm so happy that I have this is like, almost like a paragraph, like that you read to yourself every day and you make a basis off of that. And one of the things that I think about is one of my big things is to, my word of the year, number one, is to be iconic. And then like going past that is I want to work on, and I'm going to use the term authentic when I show up online or when I do things. And that's not to say I'm inauthentic, but I think I definitely, and I'm going to use this term, fall into the trap of like whatever my social media is really more the highlight reel versus like the real reel. Does that? I was going to say, does that make sense? But I think that makes perfect sense.
Makes total sense.
And it was funny because I sent you a Facebook message last night, and I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure that what I can commit to is one time a week saying one thing that, might be a little hard, might be a little true. And this is the one thing that I can do. I can say once a week I will post about this. And that still, it's not like you're not showing up authentically. It's that you're, protecting and putting boundaries in place, but you're also saying, I'm a human and let's show up that way.
Well, I think that that's like the key in vulnerability, as everyone's like vulnerability is strength, and vulnerability that's not being discerned is not very strong, right? So we understand how to be discerning with our vulnerability. And when you're putting something out so publicly, you're wanting to discern in a way that's going to be valuable to the people you're sharing it with, not just be happy that you're sharing yourself because you have that moment. And when you do have that moment, to be able to share it in a way that feels aligned, that's such a blessing. So I think like that goal is kind of tying into everything we say. It allows you to have grace with yourself. It allows you to have something realistic and allows you to do something that ties into so many of your other goals. I'm sure already. I'm just imagining. I haven't even seen your goals list. I'm like, ooh, I bet that hits this and that and the other, right? And so I think that allowing yourself also that authenticity every time you show up, you're yourself. And I think that someone had to remind me of that. Is every time I show up, I'm being myself in that position, in that season, in that space. And finding a way to say, I'm going to be authentic and saying, hey, this digital nomad lifestyle, this entrepreneurship lifestyle that I show you all of the very best parts because that's the part I love and that's the part I focus on, it also has some parts that I don't think are a big issue, but maybe someone else would think is a big issue. And maybe I do feel kind of weird about sharing some of those things. So that's something to really, I think that's like applaud you, first of all, to even think about it. And I can't wait to see. I'm like, oh, that's going to be fun as that comes out too, right? Like,
yeah, I think that the big thing is when you decide your goals, like, and we're not to say new year, new you. It's to say new year, good Lord, even better, like let's make it better. And one of those things, a lot of people decide that obviously health is a huge thing. And I know you're all about lifestyle and health. And I would be remiss because, obviously I said this is tech and tequila. So we're going to talk about some alternatives. If you have decided one of the things is you want to try being sober for the first 30 days, the first 90 days, or you've decided that you want to live the sober lifestyle. And so I know we've talked about them before, but I brought them because they're one of my absolute favorites. And I'm going to tell you what I like about them. And so I know, look,
oh my gosh, they're so good.
I know. So I brought the Ken Euphorics, which they're meant to be very similar to, I would say like a wine or something of that nature. But what's really cool about these is they have adaptogens in them. And so you have different versions. So like this one right here is the Ken Euphoric Sunshine, and it's a brand new box because obviously I haven't opened it. But this would be something that you could utilize in the morning because it does, it has caffeine in it. It also has vitamin C, D, and zinc. And the other two that I have right here are the Ken Euphorics. This is Luna Morado, which I'm super pumped about. I really like this one. And let me find this one.
I don't think I've tried that one.
Yeah, this is the one that was brand new, and it has milk thistle, purple maíz, wormwood, and cinnamon and clove in it. So this is more like if maybe you're feeling a little bloated, you're not feeling so great. And the reason I always say that is because I think of milk thistle and it's a lot of like liver support type things.
Right.
Obviously, I make this very clear. Doctor, I'm not anything. I'm just saying what I've read.
That's better because you can say whatever you want. So
I know. I'm saying this has not been like, tested by the FDA. We're just saying this is what we're thinking. So this one's of like, let's say you're just maybe not feeling great. I would say grab the Luna Morado right here. And then, of course, this is one of my personal favorites for if you've had a rougher day. And this is Ken Euphorics Bloom that I really do think is the closest to like a rosé, I would say probably. It's very similar. Feel free, you can put in the comments if you're like, you are crazy, that doesn't taste anything like a rosé, or hey, I think it tastes like this. But I like this one for relaxation. I was gonna say, for some reason I thought it had something particular in it, but it really just like relaxing. And then of course there's two more. There is Light Wave, and I forgot the other one. But these are adaptogen drinks, and of course you have several. I was trying to think. I mean, we'll have some more next week, and I'll bring. But I would be remiss if not talking about one of my favorite things that starts the beginning of the year. Is I have the Gabby app, and I'm all about living that app life. Like, there's got to be an app for that. And one of the things on there is she does like a 30-day manifestation, and we'll use the term challenge, but I don't think it's really a challenge. It's like, and every day you open it up and you listen, and she makes recommendations. And I was talking about this recently. So I had planned, you see right here, on having Trejo Spirits, their non-alcoholic, zero proof, tequila. But as with life, and apparently other people deciding they want to be sober in January, I could not find one anywhere in the Austin area.
No, can I tell you that this cracks me up because like this just shows you that when you're curious about something, that there's someone there to support you on your journey. Because for me, who in the heck would want, I mean, the only reason I would drink tequila is because I was going out and that was the point. So it is shocking to me that someone wants to replicate just the flavor, but someone wants to replicate that flavor and have that option. And the adaptogen the adaptogenic drinks are great for having the flavor, some of those feelings that you're also giving yourself some like social lubrication with the adaptogenic herbs. Like that's amazing that there are options. I was just thinking about how wanting to be more plant-based, it used to be more difficult to find options if you're curious, if you just want to find out, right? Like it's so nice to be able to admit to yourself, I can be open-minded and try things out without being worried I'm going to fall into, a whole kind of cult mentality for whatever I try out. So I think people really are sometimes worried to try something because they're like, what if I never drink again? That might be great, might be awesome. What if I never eat flesh again? I mean, it could be awesome, right? You never know. It sounds different.
It's funny you say that because that's absolutely true. But obviously I couldn't find Trejo spirits, and he has several different ones. And first off, I am a fan of Danny Trejo. I mean, I love his I would say theatrical cinematic work. I think there's a couple of things that I think are really funny. So, but what I think is really cool, so Danny Trejo has Trejo spirits, and it was developed, of course, by him, who's the actor and entrepreneur, and he has been sober for 50 years, and so it reflects his commitment to having inclusivity and providing, quality non-alcoholic options, right? So obviously, by next week we'll have a Trejo tequila to try, and I'll make a mocktail with it. But the thing is, it's vegan, it's an alternative, it's completely alcohol free. So if you're sober, this is a great option, especially if you want that added flavor, because let's be very transparent. Tequila, whiskey, whatever it is, it does have a distinct flavor. And then there's the undertones of the flavors that you have. And that's one of the things that they point out, that it has a distinct flavor of citrus, roasted agave, and of course, culminating with like a pleasant peppery finish. So mimicking that absolute tequila taste that you would have. Now, I want to be very transparent. I haven't just had a shot of it by itself, but I have had it in a mocktail, which is really what the whole idea is. And what's cool is it's a one-on-one replacement. And if you know anything about cooking, as an example, sometimes if you use something as a replacement, instead of it being one-on-one, it's like, 4, cups of this versus 1 cup of that to make up for what you're not utilizing. So that's pretty cool. And of course, it's only 5 calories. I'm not a huge calorie counter, so that doesn't really matter to me, but I'm just putting it out here. And this leads into when I was talking about manifestation and doing like the 30-day manifestation. Because in my mind, this is tech and tequila, and I can't think of a better way to enjoy tech and tequila than having like Trejo's tacos with like a mocktail, So I'm like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but we'll manifest that with like some tequila and getting all that. And maybe, like a South by Southwest pop-up, something. I mean, I'm putting it out there in the universe so you can all hear me. I'm very excited about it.
Because then everyone else can visualize it with you. I think I'm actually on a visualization challenge, which again, it's not a challenge, it's super fun. Like, I remember how much I love to just be here and dream because it all comes true. It all comes true in the weirdest ways. So yeah, that'll definitely happen. And now that everybody's heard, we can all imagine the pop-up. We can all imagine the tacos. And that's a great visualization thing that it's not my typical visualization. I'm in for it, Kat. It sounds like fun, honestly.
No, and I think that's such a good point to talk about visualization, because it's something you hear a lot when you talk about making plans, manifesting, achieving goals, is to go ahead and I'm going to use the term feels. So for those who don't know me, I'm definitely a little on the hippy dippy side. I'm definitely a little on the woo woo side, but can you feel what it would feel like to have that thing or have whatever you're working on manifesting or goal setting?
So I think that when we hear so much about it, and I think that I don't even want to like to tell a story. My eldest son, when he was very young, had an eye condition where one of his eyes was kind of like a lazy eye. And we went to the eye doctor and they said, hey, we're going to have to do this. We're going to give him this medicine every day. And I said, no, I don't think so. And they said, there's no harm. I said, I'm a pharmacy student. They said, oh, never mind. maybe we'll do an eye patch. And so we did the eye patch where he had to wear it every single day for an hour and do these exercises so that he would use his eyes, so he would practice and use the muscles and reform the way he's utilizing it, right? So we go back for the checkup in the few months or whatever, and the doctor's absolutely blown away. He's like, oh my gosh, it worked, it worked, it worked. And all I could think is like, why'd you tell us to do it if you didn't think it was going to work? And he said, he was like, well, I guess most people just aren't actually doing it. And I think that that's the key is that you have to actually do it. Visualization definitely works. Affirmation definitely works. I've had so many friends, family members, clients over the years be like, but don't you have to always do it? I'm like, yeah, but I accidentally ended up in a super affordable apartment on the beach in Spain without, you know what I mean? Like everything happens along the lines. If you will do those affirmations, if you will sit in the visualization, and as woo woo as it sounds, bro, it's science. It's neurochemical. It is really metabolizing with your environment. It's really, really smart because you are sending messages on what your reality is. And that can sound really out there. However, if we're going to be honest and really help people, which is what we're here to do, we're going to say for sure, these practices make a difference. And no matter what your aims, goals, resolutions, whatever you want to call it, however you want to do it, if you will spend time in meditation and visualization and actually do it, put the patch on your eye and do your exercises, right? Like whatever, do it for real and be there and feeling for yourself. It will always continue to grow on itself. I was just thinking, golly, how long have I been even in this space of thinking about meditations? And I think it was like way, way, way back in pharmacy school when I was leading an organization where it came up. I can't even imagine that it's come to here from there and that I still don't talk about it more. So I'm really excited we're talking about it on this podcast because I do think it is the core of how everything else moves forward is to have clarity and to have a visualization for yourself, your creativity, your genius, your imagination gets to play out. And then it is fun. Then it's not a checklist, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing is like sometimes, so I don't want to say I take a little different take on it because I'm absolutely all about visualizing. Like I have my little daily scenario, like this is exactly what I want my day to look like. I'll make it clear. This is like my ideal day if it was almost in like the Matrix would be the, I'm not going to say never ever, but it would probably be like, one time a week that this would happen exactly like that.
So now your affirmation is that you believe the impossible is possible. Okay.
That's right. That's the affirmation. And I think that really hits on what I was about to say, which is you have to have that belief that it can be done. And I think sometimes people who are like, that manifestation doesn't work, those visualizations don't work, meditation doesn't work. I'm like, first off, meditation just helps me to relax. Okay. you know, but the thing is that in order for you to take an inspired action towards a goal, you need to be able to feel, understand, and know, and being the knowing that it's actually achievable.
Right.
Because I mean, let's be very transparent. Sometimes when you're on the way to like, you see the end goal and it's like, it just feels like it keeps moving farther and farther away. And so you have to have that resilience to be like, no, I know that that's what's going to happen. I know that that's what is capable. Like it can happen.
So 2 things. First of all, you're never going to get it done. Like you'll have another goal by that time. And I think that's really exciting. And that kind of gives you some relief to be like, oh, by the time that I'm there, then I can do the next thing. You're always going to be in a place where I think the goal is to be eager and fulfilled, is to say like, oh, right where I am is great. And I'm so excited about what's coming next. And when you can get to that point, that gives you so much space. And meditation is key just for well-being, just general well-being. Even if you're not reaching any goals, you're not trying to do anything extra, it's just best for you to listen to yourself. I think that we get tied up in how and when and what. It's best for you to listen to yourself. And the biggest thing about believing that it can be real and believing that it can do that, me as a person who wants to be, writing poems in the woods or something away from every human being and some of my core parts, it is a lot for me to hear and to know the studies, that to understand that, seeing that reflected in someone, in someone you've seen, in someone that's done this part, that part, that you can piece it together and say, of course, they've done it. I can do it. There is something to that. And the closer those people are to you, which is what's so beneficial about courses like the one that we're putting up, is that it allows you to see, oh, wow, it was done. This is how it was done. I can do it. That is so much more powerful than we realize, because like you said, you have to feel it, believe it, to know it, or else you're not going to take that inspired action. And there you are.
Yeah. And I think that brings to the next thing that we really wanted to talk about on this. Like, obviously, we love the new year, we love manifestation, we talk about mindset. But one of the things you and I have been working on, and I'll cross my fingers and toes, but by the time this episode comes out, this will already be launched, is the hashtag Your Digital Bliss Digital Nomad course. And I do this, like, that's a,
No, I'm like holding my hands down here too. You can tell we
it's
are
exciting because, number one, it's a labor of love and passion. And, one of my favorite things to think about, like, I'm personally, like, I'm a generator, is, rest and reason, move and passion. So if something ignites you, it's so exciting. But for someone who that is on their manifestation board, that is on their wish list, that they either want to be a local voyager or they want to be a world wanderer, in 2025 and beyond, this is a great way to start. Because obviously, we have the opt-in, which gives you a free checklist. So it's the travel and tech digital nomad checklist. And that's going to give you like some basics to go through, some tech equipment, things like that. But the course is going, the course is, because it's already been recorded, which, by the way, I'm going to tell you right now that, recording a course, doing all this and launching a course is not for the faint of heart, people. It is a labor of love and passion. So,
well, I think that's because we cared about it so much too, Kat. I think that we probably overthought 12 things before we found that flow. And really, it really was a beautiful progression in showing how to actually do this and finding ourselves successful using the same tips that we give in the course. So it was a really, I am so excited that as we're saying this, it is done, because it feels like we can finally put the ice cream on the top and sprinkle things over it and tell everyone to come to the party,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think the thing is there's a couple of things that I want to point out. Number one, that this course and the digital nomad lifestyle is, there's not one size fits all. So I don't want people to think, oh, well, if I'm a digital nomad, that means I have to travel the world. And, I don't know if I can do that. Right. No, that's not what we're saying. Being a digital nomad means that, you're not geographically necessarily bound. So your tech is set up so that you can work from anywhere and you can move around. Like, if you want to work in the wild jungle, great, work in the wild jungle. If you're like, I'm going to work in my car because that's, not saying you're living in your car, but let's say you have the ability to work in your car. Or like, one of the people that I was talking to recently was like, oh my gosh, this is really something that I want to do. And she's like, I just want to go spend like a couple of weeks with a family member and be able to just work while I'm there. That is still part of the digital nomad lifestyle. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's exactly what you make it. And that's, someone who believes that is who this course is absolutely right for. Because we're not telling you, here, you have to do it this way. What we're giving you is the blueprint and the keys to say, here's what is possible. So,
right. I think what I really like about the way that we did this is, since we know words don't teach, I mean, you can get all the words you want. We built in experience pieces so that we can come back and tie back into, how did this experience go for you? And these are the ways to move forward from there. Because like Kat said, it was really, when we talked about this initially and expanding from there, talking to other friends that I have, I didn't realize how many of my close circle are digital nomads, because they were seeing me as a digital nomad because of the extreme like big travel. But when I big travel, when I get here, boo, I'm in this little town. I am right here. Right? So they're traveling more than I am anyways. However, that conception of what a digital nomad is going to be moving forward. The demographics are proving it, and it does give you that autonomy, that freedom to not be dependent on a location. If you want to be in that location, awesome sauce, go for it. And you have the ability to be able to move around. And then if you do want to go the more world wanderer side, we also have resources for you there so that you're able to really personalize this experience, even though it is an experience that is a wide ranging availability of topics. We've really pared down what's the most important for getting you started. And it's kind of like the option to be curious, right? We're like Danny Trejo's tequila. We're like the kin euphorics. We're like the vegan burgers, right? We're like your little step in to say, hey, could this be something that aligns with me? And it'll allow you to really put that practice in. And from some people who have done it and are doing it successfully, so that you can feel that truth of that goal being real for you as well. So
yeah. And this kind of goes back to what I spoke about being authentic. But one of the things that we definitely put in this course is we talked a lot about mindset and we talked a lot about experience. And, you know, we spoke on the fact that sometimes it's the nitty gritty, I don't want to say like the dirty, so to speak, about it, but it's like, I talked about my experience where I took a contract and I was driving 11 hours a week. And yes, I can work from anywhere, but if I was going to take a contract like that again, it would be something where I had to really, really think, is this what I want to do going? Now, do I think the experience was awful and horrible? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm not going to do anything that's awful and horrible. We would have found a way to, either to politely leave that contract or, we would have figured something out. But the thing is that we talk about that. Like, think about what's going on with your body. Like you're traveling, something as simple as, okay, I know that I need to be ready at 7 a.m. on Monday. So do I want to be on a flight at 3 a.m. to get there? Or do I want to come in the day before, be able to rest? Just things like that. Those are, I would say they're, travel and, tech tips, but there are also things to think about when you look at this journey. Be reasonable with yourself.
I think that it's really good that not only were we really, really, really real about all of the things as we move through the modules, that those experiential pieces tie back in, and understanding that as you practice this, we really do kind of have some friends along the way, right? Like, it makes me kind of excited. I'm like, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? What's your next plan, right? Because there are so many ways to utilize the resources that we have, and then to realize that there's never this end point where we are the optimal digital nomads, like it's not that. It's that there is a way to make it easy, fun, flowy, and reach all your goals. And since you have some place to go, to have that container where you do have the authenticity, you do have the resources, we're just really excited for you to get curious and to dip your toe in and to see if this feels good to you. I think it's really exciting to give the opportunity to say, oh my gosh, it's so possible. Here's how.
Yeah. No, and I think that's huge because part of one of the things that we talk about during the course is actually going and, let's say you want to be a world wonder. You're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's travel abroad. Well, hey, I'm all about get that visa, take that trip. But let's maybe do a trial day and say, okay, I'm in my mind, I'm in, Spain, and I can't just run home and use my home internet. So where am I going to work from? And try that because, some of the feedback, because I know lots of people that live this lifestyle, just like you, whether local voyager or world wonder, is like, hey, some of the best places to work don't have good internet. And some of the places that have great internet, like let's say some coffee shops, are not the best places to work from, if we're being completely honest. Like they're crowded. And it really makes me think about recently because I consider myself a local voyager. I can be in like 3 different cities in 1 week, but sometimes I take for granted that like every Starbucks is going to have like a similar setup. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to record this podcast because they're going to have a patio that I can sit out on. Well, lo and behold, the Starbucks I'm at has no patio. So me and my guest are sitting in her car, recording the podcast because that was the quietest, only place that we could work from. And it's like, was it the worst experience? No, I actually wish we had a picture of both of us sitting in the car because I think it's hilarious. We're like all squished up in front of the like laptop trying to have both of us in the screen together. But it's like, it's stuff like that that you kind of take for granted that you're like, oh, I'm just going to go, I was going to say, go work at Starbucks, go work at Black Rifle Coffee Company or, Dutch Brothers, which I didn't even know Dutch Brothers had like Dutch Brothers that had interior seating for people because mine have always been drive through. But it's just stuff like that is thinking about like, what would I do?
Well, and I think that when you are traveling on the other scale of like, I'm like, a chain cafe, what are you talking about? Like, what? Like, you have to guess what time they're open. No, but I mean, it is really interesting when you think about the surroundings that you're putting yourself in, because even here, like I have an amazing balcony. When I chose this apartment, everything was chosen for this amazing existence that's up here. I have a great place to work, but there are so many seagulls, bro. Like I did not think about the seagulls. So, and they are talking, okay? So that now I have a little indoor desk that I got here. So you'll make adjustments along the way and you won't know what's the most important to you until you go. And on my side of things, your lifestyle, understanding how when think about when you go on vacation and people come back like, oh, everything fell apart, I've got to start all over. Think about when you're going to be doing this on a larger scale, that there is a system that can help you not fall off and to keep with your goals, to feel excited about where you are, to still experience where you are, to experience your family members if you're going there, to experience the town or the forest, the location, wherever you are, and to still make sure that I'm taking care of myself, that I'm taking care of my self-care, like I am centered in myself. And that way I'm still getting my business done. Because a lot of times we'll do the business and the sightseeing and we'll forget about ourselves. And it'll continue that way until that's a burnout waiting to happen as well. So I think that putting all these pieces together, and we really did it very balanced on how can you use tech to help you? How can you make sure you're secure here? And this is a new way of working. And since we've got this, we really were talking about how the fact that we did so much online and this course just came out of nowhere, because we were saying, I wish more people knew that this was an option and that they knew how to use the tools, because I feel like there's just probably like a few little missing pieces for each different person. If we can put everything together, you'll be able to see that this is something I could do. Do you have to do it? No, but stick your toe in, bro. Try the drink, see if you like it,
No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things because I think it's funny because when I was editing module 1, we had that whole thing where like the internet was completely out at where I live, and like for whatever it was a major fiber cut. This was not. It was like the whole side of town was out. So I'm recording this sitting outside at a coffee shop. Obviously, it's summer. It's not cold in Texas, and it's like you can hear this bird periodically, but it's not so bad that it's like, oh, like that's way too loud.
Right.
But that's
So,
one of the
so
things
you're
I
telling
love.
everyone that they're singing in module 1.
I know, right? But that's one of the things that, gets me is so exciting about this course because when you think about it, like, here I am traveling all over. We recorded the course. You're in Spain. You're not physically here. Like we actually didn't record any modules or anything prior to you being over there. That's just how the scheduling, I would say how the cookie crumbled, how the scheduling worked. And so the course by itself, starting, finishing, getting done is a testament to what exactly it's like. And one of the things that I think is, I don't want to say huge, but for a lot of times people that either work remote or, our solopreneurs, even with like small teams, is that there can be this like, I don't really want to use the term feeling alone, but we
Right.
cover lots of things about how to build connections, how to build community, because that's huge. Like knowing that you have someone that you can either talk to or call, and sometimes that's a video call, sometimes that's just, texting back and forth, but it's, you know, having that understanding and putting those things in place.
I agree. And again, I don't want to roll my eyes so hard that you can hear them, because I, as an only child and person who believes in the cycle of creativity and genius and solitude, there is so much that's true about that. And as a balanced human being, there is no wellness without some sort of connection and community, because that does give a level of fulfillment that's completely different. And I think that sometimes when you jump on the the roller coaster of this lifestyle, that it's not always at the forefront of what might be important. And I really do agree with Kat that we put that consideration into how the course was built, so that there is support in the course for how to move forward in whatever unique way works for you. As someone who I really love to be at the point in my life where I admit how important it is to
Mhm.
have those connections, and to be, especially when you are working on something that is such a focus project, usually as an entrepreneur, when you are so focused in your mental state, when you're so focused on your physical state, taking care of yourself, and now you're in whatever location you want to be, the connections can feel strained. And so finding
Mhm.
a system to move forward and give a flowy feel to those connections so they're not strained, so that they feel really comfortable, is something that gives peace to your life. And that's definitely one of the top 6 values that I re-chose again this year, is peacefulness. I feel like it's a really easy choice, feels good, and it has so many benefits for you. So
Mhm.
I love that we get to be part of the connection. I think I just realized that as I was saying it. I'm like, oh snap. And we're part of the connection too, just by doing
Mhm.
this, just by reaching out. You have a connection when you dip your toe in and say, I'm gonna look at that resource book. I'm gonna listen to these girls that have done this stuff, and done it well, and they're happy with it, and they're
Mhm.
so happy with it, they're wanting to share it. Let me just see what this is about.
Mhm. Yeah. So if this is something that you have been thinking about, we'll have in the show notes, we'll have both the opt in for the free travel and tech guide or checklist, travel and tech checklist. And then by the time this comes out, we will have the course live. So you can also do that as well. Um, but if you're a listener to Tech and Tequila, me and Jenna talked about it, and we wanted to go ahead and extend the 20% discount for you guys. So the course by itself, it's 4 modules. You get the resource workbook with it. Obviously, you get the travel and tech checklist as well. Um, is $111. Now, when you put the Tech and Tequila discount code in there, you're going to get the course for $88. And as long as this is up, we'll offer it to our Tech and Tequila listeners. And if for some reason you feel like, hey, maybe I want to learn a little bit more, I would challenge you to go through Tech and Tequila's previous episodes with Dr. Jenna, because we cover this a lot, like
It's
in
true.
several episodes before.
I love that. I'm so excited to be able to extend this to the listeners of Tech and Tequila. I love this podcast. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. I think that it's a really nice way to combine just conversation with new ideas, and bringing your drinks non-alcoholic or alcoholic one way or another, tequila original or not, right? It feels really nice to have a laid back way to talk about the things that are connected to technology. And I love that we have discussed this in the episodes of understanding how that technology can connect to your lifestyle and really allow you to have bliss, which is where we came through. And you and I are creating this amazing course. If we're done. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for y'all to be in it already. I mean, it is your digital bliss. It's very exciting, and yeah, I'm pumped. I think that this is that when you say like it's such a big step to just be thinking about it, So that's such a big step to think about it. And then another big step to get into the course. And I think at that point, you've got everything you need. You've got all of the resources. You've got a way to reach out to move forward. So that's like where you get your running start at that point. So I'm excited to be able to offer the discount to listeners, and hopefully you'll take advantage of that. It's a pretty good deal.
Yes, I'm super pumped. And I think that really completes everything that we wanted to make sure we covered today. We wanted to talk to you about this new year, setting goals, manifestation, resolutions, giving yourself grace, and obviously talk if you have wanted to live your digital bliss as a digital nomad, this is the perfect opportunity. So I want to thank you again. Now, I would be remiss. You can always find me here at Tech and Tequila. You can find me at shelbyts.com, and you can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, LinkedIn. I'm a little bit on X, but I want to be very transparent, not very much, and TikTok. But Jenna, where's the best place for them to find Dr. Jenna?
The best place is always to find me at my website. So the website is visionaryintuitiveproductions.com. That is the best way to know everything that's going on. Check out the blogs, check out all of the offerings. We've got some really exciting things coming up. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram. Those are the main places. I'm a little bit on TikTok. That's private. You'll have to find me. But definitely check out the website because that's where most everything is coming out. We also have a WhatsApp group when you sign up for the membership through the website, which is free. Just get to chit chat a little bit more with us. So I definitely hope to see you guys around.
Yes. Bye. Have a great week. And like I said, this is Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Adios.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Tech and Tequila. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. To stay updated about all things tech and more, don't forget to visit us at our website, shelbyts.com. If you loved what you heard, remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our podcast. Your 5-star ratings and reviews mean the world to us and help us to reach more listeners just like you. So muchas gracias again for joining us with Tech and Tequila. Thank you so much. You learned a lot about tech, and maybe you had a nice drink of tequila.